Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be my 2018 reading list, and I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I've been putting it off because it seems like every month I'm finding more books to add to the list. And one of my goals was to read 2 books every month, so 24 books. And so far I'm on 7, which puts me right on track for where I should be for the beginning of April. So I'm going to start with the books I've read or listened to, because I listen to some of them on Audible, and then I'm going to move on to the books that I want to read. And a lot of these are recommendations from friends or recommendations from Amazon. After I finished a book, I've gotten some recommendations from them, and then some of them are from other YouTubers that I follow. Like, a lot of them are going to be what Kaylin Nicholson's been reading, and I don't know why, but what she's been reading is intriguing me lately. But anything to get me reading, because I hate to read. I will listen to a book, but other than that, I will not sit down and actually read one. And since all of these books were on my Kindle, I do not have pictures of them, unfortunately. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so to start with the 7 books that I have read, technically I'm still reading the 7th book. Okay, the first one I read was Drunken Fireworks by Stephen King, and this is really embarrassing. I have had that book on my Kindle since July, because my mom listened to it and told me to listen to it, and I didn't listen to it until January. And it's totally worth it, because it sounds like it's about a feud between 2 families, and one of you'll have to, because I can't tell you much about it without giving it away. So yeah, you will have to listen to it or read it or something, and I will link most of these books down below if I can remember to, or if I can find them. And Drunken Fireworks is totally worth it. But it's Stephen King. I love anything with Stephen King. Okay, the next thing I read was Paramedic on the Front Lines of Medicine by Peter Canning. And to be honest, when I first got started in this book, I didn't like it. I liked it, but I didn't, because it made him sound like he was whining. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to be able to get through this book. And he's not really whining, but I don't know. Apparently that's the mindset I had when I was reading this book, so I don't know. And this is his first book out of, I think there are 4, and I read the second one too. And almost all of these on this list I absolutely loved and would totally recommend. There is one, though, that I will get to in a minute. Okay, the next book I read was The Sallie House Haunting, A True Story by Deborah Lynn Pickman. And if you watch A Haunting, or Sightings, I think it was, the old episodes, like from 2006 and so, well, Haunting was from 2006. I don't know when Sightings was. I'm guessing that was probably from the 90s, because they were still living in the house. But yeah, and I watched that show, and I didn't know there was even a book until like 2 months ago, or no, yeah, 2-3 months ago. And I totally recommend it. If you like ghost stories, you'll love that book, because it's actually a true story. It's based off a lot of her journal entries that she did that she made when she was living in the house. So it's not made up. And if you don't believe in ghosts, I don't care. That's not what I'm trying to say here. So yeah. Okay, the 4th book I read was Deliver Us from Evil. And these were based off case studies of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And it was written by J.F. Sawyer. And once again, ghosts, demons, intrigue me. So yeah. if I can find something like that and it's based off true stories or case studies or whatever, yes, I will totally read it. And I think it's totally worth it, because I read this book in 2014, and apparently I read it in 2014. Didn't remember reading it, but I read it again, and I'm kind of glad I did. Because when I read it the first time, I rushed through it, and so I probably didn't remember a lot of it. Totally worth it. And a lot of the books I will reread. Like, I've got another book that I want to add onto the list that I've read once, and I kind of want to read again because I don't remember it. Okay, so the next book I read was Rescue 471, A Paramedic Story. This is another book from Peter Canning. And like I said, this one is not whiny. Not like the first one was, at least that's what it came across to me. And I actually liked it. I actually liked both of the books once I got past the whole point of I thought he was whining. Because this book is more, he's been a paramedic for 3 years, he's got his groove for the most part, and he's, yeah. I'm an EMT, so yeah, I will read basically anything from a firefighter or an EMT. And I'll show you more, because I've got 2 books on my bookshelf I want to reread that are paramedic books as well. Okay, so the 6th book that I read is Hell's Princess by Harold, and I'm probably going to butcher his last name, Schechter. I'll put it on the screen somewhere and you can tell me how you pronounce that, because I'm probably wrong. I'm probably butchering it, because I butcher everything. If I can butcher a name or a word, it will be done. It probably has been. And, okay, this book, and I don't want to say I'm technically on 6.5 books, because I only read half of Hell's Princess, and I may not have even gotten halfway through it. The book sucked that much. And I wouldn't say it sucked, it was just, it was cool at first, when you were learning about Belle Gunness, who it's about. And then you got into her, I don't know, this book, it wasn't a bad book. I'm not going to recommend it, because it was a recommendation. It was one of those free books you get every month if you have Prime, and it looked interesting. I'm thinking, okay, cool, serial killer. Yeah. Not cool. Because, I don't know. They found 13 bodies, I think. I think the total was 13. There may have been more. I didn't get that far in the book. I don't really care. It was like a very unwell written term paper. And I just graduated from, and I just finished grad school in December, so trust me, I know I've written my fair share of term papers and read my fair share of term papers, and if it's that unwell written that I can't get through more than half of it, and it's supposed to be a book, and it reads like a unwell written term paper, don't read it. Okay, so that moves on to, and that finishes my rant on that book. Okay, so the book that I'm currently reading is Hold My Beer and Watch This, Real Stories from a Small Town ER by Carrie Ham. And I think this is either the 10th or the 11th book in this series. I haven't read the other ones yet. And I'm planning on reading them because, I don't know, it goes into my, I'm an EMT, I'm really intrigued by anything and everything that has been written about it for the most part. There are some stuff I will never read again, and some stuff that I've never read, but for most part, most of these books that I've read, I absolutely love. But I can't figure out if she's a charge nurse or she just works at the desk as a receptionist or something in a hospital. But most of these stories took place in, I think it was Ohio, and saying that I live in Kentucky, it intrigues me. But then again, sometimes I hear these stories and I think, I know who did that. But it's worth it if you like to read about stupid shit that people have done. There's one story about, in this book, that I'm currently reading about a leprechaun. It's not really a leprechaun, but it's funny. It's not funny because the old lady had dementia, but yeah, whatever. I think that's what it was. So I'm about halfway, yeah, I'm a little over halfway through with this book. So I'm hoping to be on my next book in the next few weeks, or the next week or so, actually, to keep on track with my $2 a month. Oh, and that's another thing. If you do decide to read Hell's Princess, it will take forever. You will have to devote a serious amount of time to your life to reading that book, and depending on how fast you want to get through it. I'm trying to get through books in 2 weeks, and that was not happening. I hit my 2-week mark, and I was still reading it. And I wasn't even halfway through. And that's when I just gave up, because it was not interesting anymore. Okay, so now that I've told you the books that I have read, or that I'm currently reading, I'm going to move on to the books that I want to read. And the first book on this is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Like I said, Caitlin Nicholson's reading it, or she's read it. And it sounds really cool. And then there's Witch by Lisa Lister. I want to read that. Light is the New Black by Rebecca Campbell. And a lot of these books, yeah, other YouTubers have read. And they've recommended, or it's on their list, and they're going to read it. And I have a hard time finding books that I actually want to read. A lot of times, I reread books simply because I just don't want to find other books. And then I have Let the Elephants Run by David Usher, You Do You by Sarah Knight, and Moonology. That so far are the other books, and I want to read the rest of the books in the series that I'm currently reading, Hold My Beer and Watch This. They're not all called that, but it's basically, that book's the last one in the series. So I'm going to read the rest of the books in that series. I have a book called Trauma Junkie. I want to reread it. And then I want to read The Perfectionist by Sarah Shepard. And I was on The Perfectionist because if you watch Pretty Little Liars, you may know that they're coming back with, it's not really a spin-off, but it has Allie and Mona in it. And it's based off The Perfectionist. So, yeah. Totally be watching that, but before I watch it, I have to read the books because I've never read those books, and I read all the Pretty Little Liars books. Okay, and then I've got the rest of my list here of the stuff I want to read. The first thing is, and I don't have the author, I just kind of randomly wrote crap down off my Kindle wish list that I have on my Amazon. The first thing is The Wellness Garden, because my mom plants a garden every year. We always have since I was little, except for the year that we lived in the apartment and the year that we lived in the townhouse. So, yeah, except for 2 years, we've always had a garden. So I want to read The Wellness Garden, and then I want to read The Uninvited, The True Story of the Union Screaming House. Once again, it was on a haunting. I didn't know there was a book, and now that I do, I want to read the book. And then I want to read Practical Magic, because I kind of want to go along with my theme of magic and witchery and all that stuff. And then I want to read Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King, and I think it's got a few other authors in there. And then I want to read Strange Weather, and that's by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. I want to read The Fireman, that is another one by Joe Hill. I want to read Eclectic Wicca, because, I don't know, it popped up when I put in Witch and Light is the New Black, and if it comes up twice, I'm figuring that's a sign that, yeah, you need to read this. Okay, and the next thing, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't know if this will offend anybody who's going to watch this, but just to save time and to spare myself from the comments of, I can't believe you want to read that. Helter Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders. I want to read that. If you don't know who Charles Manson is, you need to find out, because I think almost everybody does. He died in November, but in the 60s he committed, well, he talked his cult. I don't think he ever actually killed anybody himself, unless, well, he may have killed one or two people himself, but I don't think there's, yeah. Chances are you know the story, or and you can Google it. If you Google Charles Manson, it's going to pop up. But I want to read Helter Skelter, because I want to read this guy's, he's in all the shows about him, so I want to read how truthful this book really is. Because I think some of it, he stretches a little bit, but it's not like you have any proof, because Charles Manson didn't talk to anybody. And he can't talk to anybody now. And the reason I want to read, I don't know why I'm interested in Charles Manson. It's a whole family thing. My uncle is, my mom is, yeah. And I'm going to spare the remark that we used to tell people, because I don't want people to go, I can't believe you do that. I don't want your backlash. I really don't. You can read what you want, you can say what you want, you can do what you want. Leave me out of it, and I will leave you out of what I do. Okay, and the next thing is Doing It with the Lights On, another paramedic book. And yes, it's got a perverted title. It kind of sounds like sex. So yes. And I am a perv. Hence why the shirt says, hold on, let me see. I run entirely on caffeine, sarcasm, and inappropriate thoughts, because I do. Okay, the next one is Lights and Sirens, another paramedic book. And then I've got Emergency. I think that's from an ER doctor, but still. And then I've got two other books, Discover Your Psychic Type and The Book of Psychic Symbols. And I want to read those two because, once again, it goes along with my theme of magic and witchery and Wicca and all that. And I don't know if I put it on here. Yeah, Eclectic Wicca, I did. Okay. And you do not have to agree with what I'm reading. But if you have any other book recommendations, put them down below in the comments, because I will probably totally need them. Because I don't think I have 24 books. Yeah, actually I have 26 books, so I count the ones I did, so yeah. But you can still leave your recommendations down below. I'll either read them this year if I get bored and I want to read more, or I will add them onto my reading list for next year. So that's it for my 2018 reading list. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have not done already, hit the subscribe button down below. And like I said, any book recommendations, put them down in the comments below. And I will try to link all the books that I can find down below in the description, if I remember. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye-bye.